The ancient Romans almost never developed the kind of cancers that are so common in our modern world. While they certainly faced other illnesses and infections, the specific, slow-growing tumors linked to lifestyle were remarkably rare in their society. If you're curious about why the ancient Romans stayed lean, energetic, and healthy deep into old age, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button so you don't miss these deep dives. For a Roman living in the 1st or 2nd century, a diagnosis of cancer would have been an extraordinary event, something a physician like Galen might write about as a curious anomaly. Their world was not free from disease, of course, but it was largely free from the chronic, systemic conditions that paved the way for modern cancers. To understand why, we have to step away from thinking about medicine or genetics and instead look at the fabric of their everyday existence, the rhythms, the foods, and the movements that were simply the background of life. A Roman's day began not with an alarm clock, but with a natural light. They rose with the sun, a pattern that kept their circadian rhythms tightly locked to the natural world. Breakfast was light, often just a piece of bread dipped in wine or some leftover olives. Then, for the vast majority of men, the day meant work that was inherently physical. Whether you were a carpenter, a stonemason, a farmer outside the city walls, or a soldier, your job required sustained, low to moderate effort for hours. There was no concept of going to the gym, because life itself was the gym. Even a wealthy merchant or politician would spend a good portion of his day walking across the city, to the forum, to the baths, to visit clients. The Roman world was built on foot. This constant, varied movement wasn't exercise. It was just transportation and vocation. When it came to food, the Roman diet was a model of Mediterranean simplicity, but with even less processed food than we might imagine. The core of every meal was what they called poles, a porridge made from spelt, barley, or emmer wheat, whole grains, full of fiber. To this, they added vegetables in abundance: lentils, chickpeas, onions, leeks, cucumbers, and leafy greens like cabbage and lettuce, which were considered essential for good digestion. Fruit, especially figs and grapes, was a common dessert. Olive oil was their primary fat, used in cooking and as a dressing. Meat was not a daily staple for the average citizen. It was more of a weekly event, often pork or goat, and fish was common in coastal cities. Sugar, as we know it, simply didn't exist. Honey was a rare luxury. Their palate was attuned to savory, sour, and salty flavors, not the relentless sweetness that defines so much of our modern food. The rhythm of the day also included a powerful tool for recovery and community: the public baths. Visiting the thermae in the afternoon was a social ritual, but it was also a physiological reset. The sequence of moving from warm rooms to hot steam, then plunging into a cold pool, acted as a form of hydrotherapy. This practice improved circulation, reduced muscle tension from the day's labor, and likely helped manage systemic stress. After the baths, the main meal, the cena, was a relaxed affair. They ate seasonally because they had no other choice. Winter meant stored grains, legumes, and pickled vegetables. Spring and summer brought a burst of fresh greens and fruits. This annual cycle of eating different foods naturally varied their nutrient intake and provided periods of lower caloric density. So what was happening inside a Roman body as a result of this unremarkable daily routine? The effects were profound and interconnected, creating an internal environment that was deeply hostile to the development of cancer. First, consider inflammation, a key driver of cellular damage that can lead to cancer. The Roman diet was inherently anti-inflammatory. The monounsaturated fats from olive oil, the omega-3s from fish and wild greens, and the plethora of antioxidants from all those colorful vegetables and fruits created a biochemical state where chronic, low-grade inflammation was kept to a minimum. Their bodies weren't constantly fighting the inflammatory fires sparked by processed oils, refined sugars, and flours. Next, their blood sugar and insulin levels remained remarkably stable, with a diet centered on fiber-rich whole grains and legumes. Carbohydrates were released slowly into the bloodstream. There were no sugar spikes, no frantic insulin surges. This is critical, because consistently high insulin is not just a driver of weight gain. It's a growth promoter that can encourage cancer cells to proliferate. The Roman body rarely, if ever, received that signal. Furthermore, the constant physical activity, the walking, the labor made their muscles highly sensitive to insulin. Glucose was efficiently ushered into muscles to be used for energy, not left circulating to cause damage or be stored as dangerous visceral fat. That visceral fat, the kind that wraps around internal organs, is itself an active endocrine organ that pumps out inflammatory chemicals. The Roman lifestyle made accumulating this deep belly fat exceptionally difficult. Their caloric intake, while sufficient, was not excessive, and their energy output was high and consistent. They were in a near constant state of mild calorie expenditure, which trained their bodies to efficiently burn fat for fuel throughout the day. Their livers, not overloaded with fructose or processed fats, remained healthy and efficient at detoxification, another key line of defense against cellular mutations. Even their sleep and stress patterns played a role. Going to bed soon after dark and rising with the sun supported robust melatonin production. Melatonin is a powerful antioxidant and regulator of sleep cycles, but it also has known anti-cancer properties. The social structure, the time spent in community at the baths or over a slow evening meal, mitigated the kind of chronic, lonely stress that we now know suppresses immune function and creates hormonal imbalances. The Roman body lived in a state of rhythmic balance, physical exertion followed by recovery, nourishing food without overconsumption, social connection, and alignment with the natural world. This balance didn't guarantee immortality from infection or injury, but it systematically removed the very conditions that allow modern lifestyle cancers to take root and thrive. Their longevity was a byproduct of a world that demanded resilience, and their bodies answered that call not with brute strength alone, but with a profound built-in harmony. Next, we're exploring the surprising reason Roman soldiers could march for decades without destroying their joints. The secret is in their footwear and marching patterns, and you won't want to miss that one.